Hi there and welcome to another episode of Plane Chasing. My name is James Menzies of J. Menzies Productions. Today with me I have retired police officer and storm tracker Alan Broerse for Channel 9. Hi Alan, welcome to the show.
Hi James, thank you for having me.
Now tell me, how many years have you been a storm tracker for Channel 9?
Well, for Channel 9 I've been 13 years as of this month. My total years of storm tracking is 40. I started in 1978.
Oh wow, so you've been doing it a long time.
Been doing it a while.
And then tell me whereabouts you grew up. Are you native to Oklahoma?
I have spent my entire life, aside from about 6 months, here in the Sooner State. So I'm familiar with tornadoes. I grew up mostly in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and then when you were growing up as a child, did you always know you wanted to be a police officer or a storm chaser, or did that kind of come later on?
A little bit of both. I was in my first tornado in 1963, where the tornado actually went across the cellar at the farm and blew up the barn, and I knew then, you know, that science and weather and the whole earth sciences thing was something I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and then in terms of education, did you go to college, and what did you study at college? Or?
I've got limited college. I cleared high school, went to Votech, and I was a commercial artist, and I actually was a commercial artist for a large firm here in Oklahoma City. Did that for a couple of years and decided that I would like to try police work, and you know, my calling was to serve the public, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I spent about 25 years and 3 months in police work.
Wow, so yeah, you did that for quite a while.
Yeah.
So Alan, do you have any hobbies besides storm chasing? Is there anything you like to do in your free time? When you have free time, of course.
I work a lot, but I play a lot harder, and I tell that to my family and friends. Yes, I have lots of hobbies. Again, anything to do with earth sciences, fossils, meteorites, astronomy, seismology. I mean, yes, I've got lots of things I do. So in between storm season, when everybody is down and saying, well, I don't have any storms to chase, well, I've got hobbies that I immediately move into, but weather always stays at the top because that's my job with Channel 9. So that's number one. Yeah,
you're very much into the seismology for sure, because whenever there's an earthquake in Oklahoma, you're usually the first person to post about it.
That's correct. I bought a seismograph. I've had several seismographs in my life and used to build them, and I built them for science fairs in school, and I actually went to a state level science fair with a seismograph. As I started raising kids, and I've got 3 adult kids and 3 grandkids now, the seismograph hobby kind of went out of the way until Oklahoma woke up seismologically about 6 or 7 years ago. And then my interest peaked, and I went ahead and bought another seismograph. And I do give updates on Facebook, social media, and some other places. And actually got Channel 9 to purchase the same type of seismograph for the station use. And that's what they're currently using.
Nice. Yeah, because I've got the same one you've got.
Right.
I just had it sitting for years and not actually set it up
Need to plug that thing in.
Yeah, I'm going to, definitely. Now, I know every time you chase, you always seem to take a picture at the Dairy Queen. Is that like a tradition with you? Because I know a lot of chasers like to stop at either their favorite food places or grab a steak if they see a tornado. It's like a tradition.
The Dairy Queen thing is kind of a tradition. It started out when I was a kid growing up in Oklahoma City. We had Dairy Queens on not every corner, but we had them spaced out fairly frequently. As other ice cream stores moved in, the Dairy Queens started dying out.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, man, if I could only get to a Dairy Queen, get me a dip cone. Well, as I started storm chasing and started seeing Dairy Queens in remote areas and in lots of places in Texas and some other states, we would stop and take a picture of myself and sometimes my navigator, Earl, eating ice cream.
Yeah.
And that has become a game now because I've done it so many times that now I get pictures from all over the country from people on Facebook and other social media sources with their ice cream, and they send it to me saying, you know, hey, you know, we've got something in common here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a unique situation.
Yeah. Now, when you were growing up, did you have a role model at all? Like, was there someone you looked up to quite a lot?
I would have killed for a role model in anything, rock collecting, fossils, anything. My dad tried, but he just, that was not his forte. So I went to the public library and spent hours and hours every Saturday. I mean, I was a book geek.
Yeah.
And, you know, until I got into about middle high school, then the books went away and I discovered girls and life goes on.
Yeah, it kind of escalates from there. Now, over the years of storm chasing in Oklahoma, what would you say has been your most memorable tornado? I mean, I know earlier we were talking about Carney and Shawnee.
Yeah.
Would you say those were your two most memorable?
I'm going to say yes, and that's because they're probably the most recent. I've been chasing for 40 years, but a lot of that wasn't chasing. You would just go out. I would see Gary England on TV say, there's a storm moving towards Guthrie. I'd drive to Guthrie looking for it. You know, so sometimes you got lucky, and quite often you didn't because the storm died and you didn't have any resources other than the radio in the car to listen to. There was no cell phones back then. Right. If you saw a tornado, you had to go down to the local corner store, if there was one, and call. And by then, the tornado's been on the ground 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We had no radar. There was, I mean, radar was unheard of back in the late 70s and 80s. You just, nobody had it. When you went out there, you took a camera. I took a 110 size camera, and nobody under 40 is going to know what that is. But it's a camera about this big, and it takes film about probably a 1/4 inch in height.
I have actually heard of those because.
And that's what I used. Yeah. I mean, the photos were crap, but I had it, and that's all I had. I couldn't afford a 35 millimeter back then because even back then they were $200.
Yeah.
And people were making $1.25, $1.50 an hour.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was mainly for the sheer enjoyment of going out and seeing if I could find the tornadoes and enjoy the storms and learn storm structure, storm dynamics.
Yeah.
And it just took off from there.
You were almost self-taught in a way, really.
I was self-taught for probably the first 25 years.
Yeah. Couple of close calls during that time?
A couple of close calls. I'll go back to 1978. I was married at the time. And I go back to Edmond, Oklahoma.
Yeah. And
Gary England said there's a tornado coming over Edmond, Oklahoma. So we get on I-35 and we're hauling the mail. I mean, tires are smoking. We get up there north of Covell and I-35, and there's 2 or 3 people around us looking around at the sky. And then all of a sudden I start seeing people drive away from us, and I'm thinking, well, what's going on? I don't see a tornado. I mean, we saw structure and motion up in the wall cloud, but I didn't see a tornado. Well, about that time, about 100 yards away, tornado briefly touches down, dirt explodes, and my wife's purse was on the top of the car, the hood. And I throw her in the car and we get out of there. Only to find out about 15 minutes later, she says, "Where's my purse?"
Oops.
And I said, "Well, it's back there where the tornado crossed." And we went back, we actually found it.
That's lucky.
We actually found it. And, you know, a couple of close calls. Now, chasing for Channel 9, there's been 3 or 4 close calls.
Yeah.
I can remember a night that the Sweetwater, Oklahoma tornado came down. And I was probably 10 miles behind that, and I drove into Sweetwater, and Gary put me on the assignment to follow it northeast. And I did, and Val Castor was there, and I think Marty was out there too, and Hank. I remember Hank seeing it cross I-40. It starts getting dark, and we end up in Vicey, Oklahoma, and people going, "Where's Vicey, Oklahoma?" It's a very well-established old town in northwest Oklahoma, and it's dark. This has been in 1987, and the cell coverage back then was somewhere next to between poor and really poor.
Yeah.
And I get up there, I pull into Vicey, and I remember looking down at the radar, and it's frozen. I look up at the sky, and I'm talking to Val Castor on the telephone, and we both agree, well, it looks like it's calming down just a bit. And I said, "Well, Val, that may be true. I don't have any radar. I'm going to call the TV station." And I talked to an intern up there, and he says, "Yeah, it looks like it's on the downturn. Just keep up with it." So Val and I leapfrogged a mile or 2 ahead into the storm's path. Well, what I didn't realize in the darkness, coming north out of Vicey, the road doesn't go north. It goes northwest in towards Woodward. And it put me right in the path. I can't see anything. The lightning's diminished. So I thought, I'm going to slow down, stop, roll the windows down, and if nothing else, I can hear anything that's coming. And it wasn't 5 minutes later. It was during the 10 o'clock news. Gary England's got, he's talking about the weather and all the storm trackers out there.
Yeah.
And I started hearing this swoosh noise. It was a shoo, shoo. And I thought, what in the heck is that? I turned the car lights on. That swoosh noise was hailstones the size of tennis balls falling from the sky and hitting in the grass and hitting once in a while in the car. About that time, I looked over at the radar, and the radar's still down. And I got on the phone on the Gettner and talked to Gary and said, Gary, I've got tennis ball hail falling. He looks over on his radar, sees my GPS blip, sees the newly formed hook echo, and says, Alan, you need to take your tornado precautions. You're in the tornado. And about that time, the winds went from about 10 miles per hour out of the east till about 70 to 80 miles per hour out of the southeast as it was wrapping into the new mezzo. And before I knew it, before I could even get the window rolled up, hail was hitting sideways, horizontal. Debris was starting to come through, leaf debris, limb debris, hitting the car. And then the rain hit, and I couldn't see from me to you.
Yeah. It
was a total whitewash.
Wow.
I turned the lights on. I couldn't see 6 feet in front of the car. And Gary was saying, Alan, you need to go east. And Val Castor was on the Gettner going, Alan, you need to come south. Well, the only road back out of harm's way went to the southeast. But I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I said a little prayer to myself, and something told me to look out the window. I looked straight down, and on my rear view or my side view mirror had a light that showed down toward the ground. I could see the white stripes on the road. I saw that, I put it in gear and followed the white stripes. I run over things, tree limbs and probably some posts and everything else that had blown across the road.
Yeah.
But about 300 yards later, I get up and out, I clear the rain, I turn around, and there's an EF3 grinder on the ground destroying homes.
Wow.
And I did talk to Gary about it. He says, yeah, he says, I thought I lost you on the air, because I was giving live reports, and a lot of things have changed back then. You know, I don't tell that story as a bragging story, because I almost lost my life.
Yeah. I
tell that story as a learning story.
Yeah.
I teach with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of things developed after that, and I'll keep this short, but I went from a 2x2x2 rule. I don't go into a nighttime storm any closer than 2 miles, because the mezzos change, you can't see, sometimes your radar drops out. I won't go into a nighttime storm with that strong mezzo without 2 opinions, mine and a meteorologist.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it, he sees it at home, we can talk about it before I go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I changed a lot of my nighttime chasing philosophy. I try to stay about a mile out during the daytime or less, and 2 miles at night, and that's just the way it is. So I've tried to stick to that as much as I could.
Yeah, I can understand it. I'm not a big fan of night chasing, to be honest. So I think it's very dangerous. Also, I don't like HP storms either. I will not punch into those if I cannot see the tornado. I don't like doing that.
I won't do that at night. During the day, I don't mind punching if I've got valid radar, a meteorologist at the other end telling me the strengths, and especially now with the radar we've got at the TV station, it's dual pole. It's the best there is in this state, and I like it. I like it. And but without that radar and without the opinions from the meteorologist, I won't core punch.
Now, I know you've seen plenty of tornadoes in Oklahoma. Have you ever been out of state chasing? Have you been to Texas or Colorado or Kansas?
And that's a good question, because most Oklahoma storm chasers do venture out into the Texas Panhandle, because the Texas Panhandle, I'll limit it down to one word. It's magical.
Yeah.
You know, your elevation is up. The tornadoes are easy to form out there. You can see them 30 or 40 miles away. You can see the storms forever out there. And I don't want to say nobody lives out there, because there's lots of people that do, but it's not big, huge, concentrated cities out there like we have in central Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I do go to Texas. I've gone to south of Oklahoma into, the Dallas region before. I don't like that. The traffic is horrible.
Yeah.
And I've gone into Kansas, several counties into Kansas. On a day like that, if I'm working for News 9, a lot of times once it leaves our television viewing area, if it's really good stuff and the video is good and we can help save lives out there, then we'll go.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if it's a 6 or 7 mile or hour trip north, well, guess what? That's a 6 or 7 trip back. And that puts me home at 2 or 3 in the morning. And sometimes that's not good for,
yeah, definitely.
for my sleep.
Yeah, especially if you've got to get up and go around.
You go to work
a second
morning.
round the next day or something. Yeah, as there sometimes is.
That's correct.
All right, Alan, so you brought some video with you today for us to talk about. Now, tell us exactly which day this is and where this was and what year.
Okay, that is May 19th, 2013, and that is sitting in downtown Kearney, Oklahoma. And Kearney is located just north of Wellston off of I-44 in between Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Yeah. Now, what was the weather like this day, this particular day? I know it was primed for tornadoes, but off the top of my head, I can't remember if it was a moderate risk or an enhanced.
They didn't have enhanced back then, but I know it was a moderate risk day. We knew it was a big day. And at that time, I'd been traveling solo on my storm chases. Well, on big days, I try to go ahead and get at least one observer with me, and I was lucky. I got 2. I took my middle daughter, Jennifer, and her husband, Chris, with me because I've trained them both. They've been on several chases. Jennifer, I don't know what it is. I can take my other daughters, and we might see a tornado. If I take Jennifer, we're going to see a tornado. It's just
she like your good luck charm, almost.
I guess so. She's she's got a couple of young kids now, so she don't chase anymore. But I had her there for 3 or 4 years, and we saw lots and lots of tornadoes.
Yeah. So just describe to us what's going on in the video right now.
Okay, we're looking to the southwest there, and just moments before that, I was headed southbound on Highway 177. I'd come out of the rain and core. David Payne and Val Castor were south of the tornado, and they could see it becoming wrapped in rain. And you can see that back behind the pump jack, that white wall back there is a wall of water that you can't see unless you're within a half a mile or so of the tornado, maybe a mile. Anyway, we're headed south on I-44, I'm sorry, on 177, and I break through the rain and look to the southwest, and there is a huge wedge. And after a few explicative terms, I looked over at my daughter and my son-in-law and said, that's it. I mean, that's a wedge, and that's big.
Of course, at this point here, it wasn't a wedge anymore. It was more.
No, it was downsizing. It was downsizing. It was still about 300 yards wide, and that's not just necessarily the vortex size, but the tornadic winds and the rain curtain that was actually, I could see debris spiraling, was at least 300 yards wide.
Yeah.
So I knew they had tornadic winds in it. We sat on top of a hill in downtown Kearney, facing southwest, and I could see that tornado. And I told my daughter and my son-in-law, I said, if it's not going left and it's not going right and it's getting bigger, it's coming to us.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what that tornado's doing. And you can see the multi-vortex vortices around the base of it. It was actually just destroying left and right. Everything it hit, it destroyed. Every home that it hit or every barn it hit was destroyed. But we are facing southwest right now as the thing is getting bigger. And of course, as about right now, they're asking me, are we leaving? Are we going to leave? And I said, yeah, we'll leave in about 30, 40 seconds. We'll leave. We stayed there because I wanted to see if the tornado was actually going to go just south of us. And that was important because where I was at now, if the tornado took that path, it was going to go right through the middle of Kearney and probably destroy another 40 or 50 homes.
Yeah.
It was going just south. It did manage to destroy 21 homes and buildings.
Yeah.
The good thing about that is the tornado was on the ground from Edmond all the way, and there was so much reporting on it, and there was so many storm trackers out giving accurate reports that tornado was on the ground for like an hour.
Yeah, it was a long track tornado.
And nobody was killed.
Yeah, which was a big blessing.
Nobody was killed, and that's great when you're out there doing your job as a storm tracker for a TV station.
Yeah.
And you're liking that, It was a good tornado. It was easy for me to see. I dropped in to what we call the inflow notch, which is just to the northeast of the tornado, but it's the best viewing.
Yeah.
And we hung out. That tornado was about 3 to 4 miles to our southwest, and we just let it come to us.
Yeah.
Okay, I dropped back north as I decided that tornado was probably going to come pretty close to us. I dropped back north about 400 yards, and I'm sitting there at the fire station. The siren's going off. You can't hear the siren now, but the siren's going off, and it's just really noisy. My daughter's going, Dad, Dad, it's rotating over us. Yes, we were definitely, most definitely under the wall cloud, and it was violently rotating. The tornado had not produced any satellites that I was aware of, so I just told them, I said, in case it produces a satellite, be looking. And the rotation over us was very, very violent and very low. The wall cloud was probably 800 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And that's low.
Yeah, and it's a violent tornado now at this point, because you can see the rising motion on it is just incredible.
It's a high-end EF3, and you can see the rain curtains wrapping around it. And like I said, the tornadic winds were at least 300 yards in there.
Yeah.
It's approaching 177 now. We're still looking south-southwest, and you can see the top of the hill at the lower corner down here. And that's 177 as it goes south towards Shawnee.
And it's increased in its forward propagation now as well.
It's shrunk up. It's spinning a lot faster.
Yep.
And by then I was live with Channel 9 on the air, speaking to Gary England, and about 500,000 folks, letting them know, and you could see the power flashes there.
Yep.
You start seeing power flashes, you know there are people's homes being affected.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can look at it right there, and it's just that's an incredible, strong tornado. It was a high-end EF3.
Yeah.
But like I said, nobody was killed. It's actually going over homes right there.
Yeah. This is what gets me every time. This top right-hand corner of the video, that motion there, that rolling motion of the RFD punching down is just incredible. And it was horizontal spinning. Yeah. The RFD was coming in and spinning those clouds horizontally, and then it was wrapping in, and it just intensified the tornadic flow there. Yeah. It was just incredibly strong. Yeah, I'm driving up close to it now. You can still see power flashes. And as I get about 300 to 400 yards from it, I hold back, and we're still looking for satellites. I mean, I don't suggest that anybody ever storm chase like this, but I've been chasing for about 40 years. I know when I can feel like I can get away with it. And we did. And I went ahead and parked, and we're watching homes just go up left and right. My daughter's being a little emotional at the time. She can see clothing and yeah, the large cloth and what have you flying out of these homes as they're going up, and she knows that's somebody's home. This is something as a storm chaser like you, I've been doing it many years, not quite as long as you, but this is something that is always gut-wrenching to have to witness, is when you get days like this and it does go through a populated area, because for the most part tornadoes are usually out in the open fields because it's such a vast expanse of land. And most of the time they are. Yeah. Most of the time they are. And part of our storm chasing, and being a retired cop, you know, when I see something like that, I was immediately calling for OHP troopers, ambulances, county sheriff. You know, I knew we had homes destroyed. There was going to have to be homes to be going through. And of course, being a media storm chaser, you can almost get the message across quicker because they're monitoring the news. Yes. You're not having to stop, pick up the phone, go through dispatch. You're getting the message directly to them. And then, here as well, you can see these white subvortices. The subvortices around there, there's 5 of them that continuously spun around this, and you can see them now just picking up. Yep, there's one. And another forming there, look, around the edge. It's just, and of course you got this incredible mid-level inflow up here on the top right of the screen, wrapping into the mids of the mezzo, and then of course you got the collar of the wall cloud coming around from the north. It's just fantastic. It was. The motion was incredible, and there you can see the subvortices now just there's 2 one there, after 3. Another. Just big one there. But that tornado was on the ground for about an hour. So, like I said, it was moving about 25 miles per hour. Yeah. To the east northeast, but it was still moving northeast. It probably got about 7 or 8 miles to the east of my location there, and it started to die out. And but yeah, that's a. And of course, after we realized that we had homes hit, we immediately went over to some homes and started talking and trying to make sure everybody was okay. Yeah. Calling for resources. Yeah. And that's what we do. Yeah, the chase is over at that moment. The chase is over. And that's an incredible shot. Again, you can see the mid-levels rushing in to the top of the mid-levels of the mezzo there. Yeah, and you can see the RFD coming in, and the sunlight is actually illuminating that, where the RFD has eroded that cloud. You could actually see the hook, the perfect hook formation there as well. And then this is the same day. The same day. This is another tornado. This was an EF4. Right. The Bethel Acres Shawnee tornado. And just tell us whereabouts you are on this.
Well, we left Kearney after we got through and all the resources were being called and helping the people out. We pulled stake and dropped south on 177 towards Shawnee because another thunderstorm was coming across Lake Thunderbird.
Yeah, just narrowly missed my house that day.
Just narrowly missing your home.
Yeah.
We heard Jim Gardner go ahead and give reports from the helicopter that it was sucking up water from Lake Thunderbird, and I thought, man, that's going to be a big tornado. And just like the Kearney storm, we come in, we core punched the outer core. It wasn't the big hail, but we had a lot of rain. And as soon as, we never left 177. And this is probably an hour and a half after the Kearney storm. We drive down, pull out of the rain, and we see this. You know, the second very strong tornado of the day.
Yeah.
And it went through several cycles. It never stopped being a tornado, but it went through several cycles of being, you know, a
nice barrel tornado.
A barrel tornado. It wedged out at one point. And
this is a fascinating bit of video here too, because you can actually see it occluding around the wall cloud slightly.
Right.
So you can see it go from left to right, and you're looking southwest at this point. So
that is correct.
It's jogged north and then back west a little bit, and then, you know, because you've had to adjust your camera to the right a bit because it moved to the right. So it's a very detailed occlusion of the tornado, and then it comes back around the south side of the wall cloud.
And you notice one thing: once I have established the tornado's position, I'm not chasing that tornado.
Nope.
I'm holding still and letting it come my way. Why? Because it's coming my way. Why do I need to meet it if it's coming to me? I can give longer and more accurate reports as the tornado is approaching me. I've got at least 2 to 3 avenues of escape.
Yep.
North back on 177 was my best. But I could have even made it south, but that's not my game. You know, we were in the inflow notch. It's not the best place for chasers to be unless you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. And of course here it's starting to kind of rotate around the backside of the wall cloud again. And this is another this is amazing, this bit here, that complete separation in the middle.
Right.
Like a clear area, and then of course it just goes from a
barrel
tornado and starts to kind of wedge out.
Starts to wedge out.
Yep.
At that time I realized that it may be coming to us. It looks like it's wobbling around. Tornadoes don't usually go straight line.
No.
They wobble a little left, they wobble a little right. Sometimes they turn right, sometimes they turn left.
Or a very detailed occlusion like it just did.
Yeah.
It went back to the north, back to the west a little bit, and then back down to the south, and then...
And sometimes occlusions will kill a tornado. Not this one.
Yeah.
This tornado had a mission, and it was very, very strong. EF4 right there. It was just south of the casino there on I-40 at Dale, Oklahoma. I panned back out so you could see the wall cloud and see some of the storm structure that was involved in this. And again, it had a very low wall cloud.
Yeah.
And the tornado was going through a recycling process, and it was getting stronger.
Not a broad wall cloud at this point. This is still it's kind of a very tight wall cloud, as opposed to the Kearney one earlier that looked like it had a very broad mesocyclone and a very broad wall cloud to it.
But you can see the wall cloud there. I mean, that's substantial enough to produce that tornado, and it remained a very strong tornado for at least 45 minutes.
Yeah, and in top center of the screen there was almost like a satellite trying to form briefly. As
it's revolving around the counterclockwise.
Yeah, and that was quite far out from the main tornado, so that just proves to you how careful you have to be under a wall cloud.
That's exactly right.
Satellites can form much further away from the parent tornado.
And that's why I have an extra set of eyes now. I did this 10 years for Channel 9 by myself.
Yeah.
And it just got to where, for safety, I need an extra set, eyes out there looking, because I'm trying to drive, operate a camera, talk to 500,000 people, and stay on the road with people that aren't being very courteous at times on the road. So that's what we did. The tornado is actually getting a little bit smaller, but it's spinning a lot faster right now.
It's still grinding. It
is EF4 at this point.
Yep.
And you can see how smooth-sided it is. And
stovepipe tornado at this point,
I was describing that on live on TV, that this thing has gotten really smooth sides to it, and that's an indicator that those winds are 150 to 200 miles per hour almost every time.
Well, this is very similar of the KT Wynnewood tornado in 2016. Very similar shape, similar environment, both violent tornadoes.
Right.
So,
well, the tornado right now is over the Steelman Estates, which was a mobile home park. which it did heavy damage, and I know one man lost his life there.
Yeah.
As it clears, you can still see trees at I-40 and Highway 177 on the southwest corner of that intersection, completely obliterated. This is 5 years ago.
Yeah, you can still see the
completely obliterated. You can tell that, you know, and that's funny because storm chasers will go through a town or go through the countryside, and they look for that. Oh, tornado's been through here, I can tell.
You almost
notice
it immediately.
Signature. It leaves a signature. Now that tornado has left the Stillman Estates, and it's actually headed to I-40 right now, which it's almost on top of. And I-40 and Highway 177 is a 3-layer bridge structure there, and there were actually some trucks stopped under those bridges trying to seek shelter.
Which you should never do under
No,
any
there was a fatality there too. And that's really tough on storm chasers because we're out there in the middle of this trying to get that word out. Now I realize not everybody watches my channel, but a great deal do. And we're proud when we go through a storm like that and nobody gets severely injured or dies.
Yeah.
It's over I-40 right now, and it's just you can see it's still a very substantial tornado. It actually blew a couple of those trucks off the bridges down below. And at that point, I realized it's not coming to us. It's straight south of us now, so we're getting ready to take off and drive south to it.
Yeah, because you're also about to start getting the rain from the north side of the storm getting dragged in.
Right, there's the rain.
So you can see the
curtains being pulled into the mesocyclone now.
Very interesting how that rain haze formed on the road there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we pulled down within a mile of it now, and the tornado was still on the ground, even though you could not see the vortex on there. Watch how fast it spins up, though, and it comes back with a vengeance. I mean, it's thinking about it. The tornado never left the ground, even though the vortex disappeared. The dust was still spinning.
Still had a ground circulation.
Still had a ground circulation. And watch that thing now. It's much smaller, spinning very tight. And it is just plowing the fields.
You can see it instantly throwing up that debris there at the base.
And you're seeing leaf litter debris. We had lots of leaf litter debris and some home debris flying around. And we were less than a mile from it there.
And that's falling down from the meso, basically, from the updraft.
It's pulled up in the updraft and it's still circulating around and it's falling from it now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real dirt digger there now.
It's only about 90 to 100 yards wide there, but it is wreaking havoc. I mean, everything that was hit, there were several homes hit there and on towards Prague. It did get a little bit weaker as it went on through.
Yeah.
And what you're getting ready to see here is something we see pretty often out there chasing storms. And that's why we send more than 1 or 2 chasers out there. But the rain wrapped around it.
Yeah.
And even at a mile, I couldn't see the tornado.
Yeah.
And there's no way I was going to come in from the west and chase that with the way it was. So.
Yeah. Well, that's some incredible footage, Alan. I'm glad you're also safe that day as well, because it's definitely one of those days you've got to be extra careful with such violent
It was one of the best.
supercells.
I like to say it was one of the best chase days I've had, and one of the worst. Like I said, when you see fatalities on that and you see the tornado, it just puts a pit in your stomach. You know people's lives are being affected. They're in that storm. They're fighting for their lives, and that's what we're out here for. That's what News 9 puts us out in the field for. And
of course, you and I both know, is we thought that day was over. We thought we'd really dodged a bullet. And of course, unfortunately, the day after, we had the May 20th tornado and more, which was quite a bad one, and many fatalities on that one, including children.
And that's true. When you have a bad day like the Kearney and Shawnee tornadoes, you think, man, maybe that's the tornado of the year for us here in central Oklahoma. Maybe it's over. And for me to see 2 wedges like that and 2 very strong tornadoes, that's a rare event.
Yeah.
And I felt for sure that was probably the event of the year. We get up the next day, moderate to high risk, and more gets hit.
Yep.
And
a boundary that was sat there.
And a week and a half or so later, the largest tornado ever recorded by mankind goes through El Reno at 2.6 miles.
Yeah.
And with the grace of God, most of us survived that. Not everybody did, but most of us survived that and lived to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, some of those tornadoes from the 2013 were very reminiscent of 2011, the historical outbreak we had here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Which was, I want to say it was it April, or was it?
I think it was around...
Was it May 26th?
It was in May.
It was in May, yeah. May 26th or 28th, I want to say it was.
We had the Canton tornado, and then we had the Piedmont tornado, which I saw the Canton tornado. I was up there with you.
Yep, we were up there
Saw
together,
the Canton tornado, and they pulled me off and said, you got to get south towards the metro. You got to come, got to come. And they pulled me out of an active tornado, and at the time, you know, you're thinking, gosh, the tornado's right in front of me. But we had 2 other trackers there, so I understand the management position. I'm duty bound. I always have been. I turned around and left.
Yep.
Only to drive into the Piedmont tornado, and actually was within a mile of that as that came through the Shadow Lake Edition.
Yeah, so, which was just incredible damage there as well. That
incredible
was
damage. I think we had
tornado.
about 10 or 12 fatalities out of that tornado too. So
yeah, because that day we had Canton Lake, El Reno, Piedmont, Guthrie briefly. I think there was one in Stillwater that day.
Well, there was one down in Goldsby and Newcastle.
Newcastle, yep.
We didn't have enough chasers to fully cover them, so we were trying to get our resources spread back out instead of grouping at one storm, get back out, because we knew as the storms built down line, we was going to have to cover them because the atmosphere was on fire. I mean, it was just, it was so tornado imminent that we knew it.
That was what we call a string of pearls day. Yeah, you just had one tornadic supercell after another in a perfect line.
That's correct.
And those are fairly rare days as well, but it can happen.
If you're lucky as a chaser or unlucky as a citizen, you might see one of those days every couple of years where the conditions are absolutely fantastic weather-wise for the atmosphere to just blow up and turn upside down.
Exactly.
And, you know, and every couple of years we get that here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Alan, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. It's been fantastic, and the video was just incredible.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I've never actually had a chance to sit and watch that full video, you know, but yeah, thank you for coming. Be safe this season. You know, hopefully it's not like what we're seeing on TV. Hopefully it's not too bad of a season. Yeah. Yeah, just take care, and thanks for coming.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Plane Chasing. Be sure to tune in next time. Thanks.